Hello everyone, this is Y. Manohar Reddy, Department of Cybersecurity, Institute of Aeronautical Engineering. Today in this session, we are going to discuss about different types of attacks, different types of mechanisms and different types of services in the network security. So in generally, we define that network security is a protection of all the different types of systems, different types of networks, different types of data. So to protect our data, to protect our network, to protect our systems, we are going to understand the different types of services, mechanisms and attacks. So there are a lot of attacks will be happening in the real time. So we are going to understand each and every attacks, how the attacker will attacks on the targeted systems and what are the techniques, what are the types of attacks that they were implemented on the target systems. So here the attacks, services and mechanisms. So before going to find the different types of attacks, services, mechanisms. So what is mean by attack, what is mean by mechanism, what is mean by service, that we have to know. So here what is mean by security attack. So what is mean by attack action? So it any action that compromise the security of information. Any action that compromise the security of information. That means when you want to access some network or access some data, you have to do some event. You have to do some event or eve of action. Eve of action. So that action will compromise the channel to gain that information. It compromises the channel to gain that information. So here, that is what we mentioned here. Any action that compromises the security of information. So to steal that information, to gather that information, to gain that information, we are going to take care of the channel into our handover. So that action you need to proceed on to the target system. So that is nothing but attack. And a mechanism is designed to detect, prevent or recover from a security attack. So after the target system is attacked with some attacker, so what type of mechanism we are going to use to recover that data or recover that network or recover that system. So here that mechanism is designed to detect or prevent or recover from a security attack. So that is one type of mechanism. And security service. So a service that enhances the security, the service which is used from mechanism that enhances the security of data processing systems and information transfer. So how you are going to provide the security service to transfer the data. So that is nothing but a service. That is nothing but a service. So that enhances the security of data processing system and information transfer. So a security service makes use of one or more security mechanism. So with the help of the different types of security mechanisms, you are going to use the services. So you are going to use the services. So whenever the attacks will be targeted on the target system, automatically you have to recover your system or recover your network or recover your data with the help of some security services applied by some mechanisms. Security services applied by some mechanisms. So that is the definitions of what is meant by security attack, what is meant by security mechanism and what is meant by security services. So there are different types of attacks will be there. The main category of the attacks, the main names of the attacks are they are going to attack on the target system. The first one is interruption. The first one is interruption attack. So this is an attack on availability. This is an attack on availability. And interception. So this is an attack on confidentiality. This is an attack on confidentiality. And modification. So this is an attack on integrity. This is an attack on integrity. And fabrication. This is an attack on authenticity. This is an attack on authenticity. So these are all the different attacks on different goals. So one is availability, the attack on availability, interruption, the attack on confidentiality, interception, the attack on integrity, modification, the attack on authenticity, fabrication. So here the availability, so how much of the data is available to interrupt the data, and confidentiality, how the data is to be confidential. So the confidential mechanism you have to disrupt it. The confidential mechanism you have to disrupt it with this attack. And integrity, attack on integrity. The integrity is nothing but that maintains as a unique or single data. That maintain as a unique or single data. So on that modification attacks will present. And attack on authenticity. So authenticity and authorization. So on that the attacks will be there. So that is nothing but fabrication attacks. So these are the attacks, and we will see how these attacks will be happen. So in general, the normal flow of the data transfer is happening like this. So information source and information destination. That is nothing but the information is going to be moved from source to destination. Information is moved from source to destination. So this is the normal flow. Normal flow. And here the different types of attacks. The first one is interruption, second one is interception, modification, and fourth one is fabrication. Interruption, interception, modification, and fabrication. So that interruption is nothing but whenever the data is transferred, whenever the information is transferred from source to destination, in between them attacker is going to be attack on the availability of the data. So that is nothing but he is going to be interrupt the data flow, interrupt the data flow. So he is going to stop the data to be followed. He is going to stop the data to be followed. And second one, interception. So in the interception, he is going to be interpret, he is going to be interview and take the channel, take the information, and he is going to be modified. He is going to be modified. After that, the data is going to be delivered to the destination. So he is going to be interfered to access that information. He is not going to modify the data. He just observes the data, how the data is to be transferred to the destination. And the modification, in this, the user is going to, attacker is going to take the channel or gain the channel of the information, and that information has to be modified with the help of attacker. The modified data is to be transferred to the destination. Modified data is to be transferred to the destination. So in the interruption, there is no need to modify, and there is no need to modify, and there is no need to gain. So he just disrupt the data. He's just disrupt the data. And the interception, he is going to be observed the data, how the data is going to be transferred to the destination. And in this modification, the data is going to be disrupted and the data is to be modified by the attacker. And fabrication, and the fabrication, the attacker is going to be create some nuisance data, and that nuisance data is going to be forwarded to the destination. So these are the attacks on availability, confidentiality, integrity. So these are the different types of attacks. So here we'll see how the attacks will happen. So security attacks. The first one, security attacks. There are two types of attacks are there. One is passive and the second one is active. So there exist several attack types and they can be divided into two distinct categories: passive and active. Passive and active. They denote the amount of work that an attacker must do. So how much amount of work is going to be efforted on the attack channel, attacker channel. So that displays the types of attacks, whether it is a passive attack or active attack. So the first one is what? Passive attacks. So passive attack is one that involves either the eavesdropping or monitoring of data communication. So he doesn't involve to actively participated on the modifications of the data. He just involves to see the data, how the data is to be monitored, how the data is to be flowed from source to destination. And the goal of the malicious entity is to acquire the information or learn more about the communication. So the passive attacker goal is to acquire the information or learn more about the communication channel. So he just simply sitting and he's just watching the information, how the information is flowing from source to destination. So there is no need to disturb the data. And release of message contents. So this is one type and this is one type. So this is when during the transmission of the data, so source to destination, the data is to be transferred. So during transmission of data from one party to another, a third and malicious party intercepts the message and learn its contents. So the attacker is going to be intercepts. The attacker is going to be intercepts the data. That means intercepts is nothing but he just monitor the data. He just monitored and analyze the data, how it moves. And traffic analysis. So traffic analysis is considered or concerned with the analysis of patterns generated by the actions of the parties involved. So it just concerned with the analysis of patterns generated by the actions, how the actions will be taken to transfer the data, how the actions will be modify the data, so how the actions will be involved. So this is the traffic analysis we are going to understand. And this may simply involve the detection of an encrypted message being sent from a single party. Such attacks are difficult to detect due to their inherent nature. So some of the attacks may simply involve the encrypted message being sent from source to destination. So that attacks are difficult to detect because of their inherent nature. So one can use encryption in order to inhibit the successfulness of such attacks. So some of the attackers are maybe failure to launch the attacks on the channel. Some of the attackers are gain a success to launch the attacks on channel. So there is an endpoint encryption will be there. And active attacks. So active attacks are those that involve the modification of the communication channel. Modification of the communication channel or the data being sent across the channel. So passive attacker is going to be monitor the channel, monitor the data, how it transfers from source to destination. He doesn't do any modifications of the data. But active attacker is going to be participated to modify the communication channel or modify the data across the channel. So active attacks are always present to do the modifications of the channel or do the modifications of the data. But passive attacks are not at all active. They are just simply sitting and monitor the data, how the data is to be transferred from source to destination. So here we can have a different types of active attacks. So the first one is what? Masquerades. This is the simple impersonation of a legitimate entity in order to abuse or access the resources accessible by the entity. So this is an impersonation of the behavior. That means it is wanted behavior, it is misbehavior of that attacker is going to be abuse the resources or abuse the channel. So he just wanted to divert the channel or divert the data that to be transferred. And the second one, replay. So it involves the retransmission of existing and already transmitted data in order to produce an unauthorized effect. So here the replay means the transmission of the data is going to be sent multiple times. In order to produce an unauthorized effect. So if you send a lot of replies or lot of responses to the destination, automatically the destination will get confused which has the taken to do the effect, which has to taken the do the effect. So that's why the replay attacks are going to be active. They are participated as active. They are going to be confuse or divert the user to transfer the data. And third one, message modification. Message modification. So the delay modification reorder on legitimate message such that it produces an unauthorized effect. Unauthorized effect. So the message modification involves the delay of the message and the content changing of the message and reordering of the message on legitimate message such that it produces an unauthorized effect. So authorized user cannot able to evaluate the data which is modified by the attacker. So that is what the attacker goal here. And denial of service. This involves the prevention of or reduction in quality. It involves the prevention of or reduction in quality of legitimate service. Such attacks may target specific hosts or entire networks. So here they are going to reduce or prevent the quality of the data. So the original data is to be corrupted or original data is going to be modified. So with that modified data or with that corrupted data, the service is going to be denied. The service is going to be denied. So that works for the authorized users. That works for the authorized users. So in contrast to passive attacks, active ones are easy to detect. Active attacks are easy to detect but harder to counter, but harder to face them, harder to count them. As it would involve the protection of all the communication services offered. All the protection of communication services offered. So these are all the different types of attacks, active attacks and passive attacks. And services. So a security service as defined as a service provided by a protocol layer of communicating open systems. So all the systems are communicated and they are open to share their resources, which ensures adequate security of the systems or data transfers. So there are 5 types of mentioned together of availability. 5 types of mentioned together availability. So the first one is what? Availability. The property of a system or system resource being accessible and usable upon demand by the authorized system entity according to performance specifications for the system. So availability of the data, availability of the system, availability of the network, so specifications for the systems are going to be available. So this is one property of a system or a system resource is being accessible and usable upon demand by the authorized system entity. So only the authorized users can able to access that systems or network. So that is the availability. That is the service which is going to be used for authorized users. And access control. The prevention of unauthorized use of a resource. So the access control mechanism is only for giving the access to authorized persons, and it is a prevention of unauthorized use of resources. Those who are unauthorized to access the service, they are going to be restricted for the accessing. And next one, authentication. This is the assurance that the communicating entity is the one that claims to be. So it is the quality of assurance or provision of assurance that gives the communicating entity. So that is one claims to be. So there are 2 classes of authentication actually. There are 2 classes of authentication. So one is peer entity, and the second one is data origin. So peer entity, it involves the authentication of a logical entity in a communication process. So it involves the authentication of a logical entity. So authentication of logical entity is nothing but you are going to log on to the system for the particular websites. So by giving username and password. So that involves the authentication of logical entity in this communication process. And data origin. It involves assurances relating to the origin of the sources of received data. So it gives the assurance. So from where you have to send the data, from where you have to send the data. That assurance is related to the origin of the source of received data. So where you have to receive the data and where from where you have to send the data. So that is nothing but assurance of relating to the origin of the source or received data. And data confidentiality. Data confidentiality. So the protection of data from unauthorized disclosure. Unauthorized disclosure. That means we are going to show the data who are authorized to the system or who are authorized to the network. So this can be further specified as, so first one is connection confidentiality. You have to show the connection for the confidentiality purpose and show that connection for only the authorized purpose, authorized persons. And similarly connectionless confidentiality and selective field confidentiality and traffic flow confidentiality. Traffic flow confidentiality. So here the connection confidentiality. So the protection of all user data on a connection. So protection of all user data. So we are going to close or do not explore the user's data on the connection. So we don't want to disclose the user's information on this connection. So that is nothing but connection confidentiality. Based on the connection, you are going to protect all the information, all the users' information. Connectionless confidentiality. The protection of all user data in a single data block. In a single data block. So all the user data has to be keep it in a single block and that block should be make it as a confidential. That block should be make it as a confidential. Next is selective field confidentiality. The confidentiality of selected fields within the user data on a connection or single data block. So that means here we are not going to protection of the user. We are not going to protection of user, but we are protecting the user data. So you can take user data as name or user data as password, user data as phone number, everything. So that selective field you are not going to disclose to others. So that is what we mentioned here. Within the user data we are going to protect. We are going to maintain that confidential. And traffic flow confidentiality. The protection of the information that might be derived from observation of traffic flows. So observation of traffic flow, we are observing the data of all the users, we found that is there any chances to lose the data of particular user. So that data we have to modify, that data we have to observe, and that observation is going to be confidential. That observation is going to be confidential. So that is nothing but the protection of the information that might be derived from observation of traffic flows. Observation of traffic flows. And data integrity. Data integrity. The assurance that data received is in the exact same format as it was when sent by an authorized entity. So whenever the data is transferred from source to destination, the original data, the same format of the data has to be reached to the destination. So that does not lose its integrity of the data. That does not lose integrity of the data. So this can be considered. In terms of connection integrity. This can be considered in terms of connection integrity. So here we can say connection integrity with recovery, connection integrity without recovery, selective field connection integrity, and connectionless integrity, and selective field connectionless integrity. So here we are going to protection of all the users, and protection of all the users data, and protection of all the users data which is going to be lost on the network. So we are going to protection all the data. But here the integrity concept, we are providing the integrity of user information, integrity of users, integrity of all the user related information which is from connection to connectionless is going to be maintained. So here see connection integrity with recovery. So here provided for the integrity of all user data on a connection and detects any modification, insertion, deletion or replay of any data within the entire data sequence with recovery attempted. So here what we are going to say, the connection integrity with recovery mechanism. This mechanism provided for the integrity of all user data on a connection. It finds is there any data is to be modified, is there any data is inserted, is there any data is to be deleted, or is there any data is to be sent multiple times with the entire data sequence. That what we observed here. So we do not lose the integrity of the data in the connection. Similarly, connection integrity without recovery. So as previously, but provides only detection without recovery. So we are observed here and we are find that, but we are not going to be recover. Is that modified our data? Is that deleted data? Is that inserted data? Or is that replayed data? So we are not going to recover here. But in the connection integrity with recovery, we can recover it. Here without recovery, we can just detect the data which is modified or which is happening something. But here we are not going to be recover the data. And a selective field connection integrity. It provides for the integrity of selected field within the user data of your data block transferred over a connection and takes the form of determination of whether the selected fields have been modified, inserted, deleted or replayed. That means the user data which having a name, which having a phone number, which having mail address or anything, this is all related to users data. So is that name is modified, is that name is deleted, is that name is deleted or inserted, is there other name is inserted. So that all the cases we are observed here. So selective field connection integrity will appear here. So we don't want to lose the exact name, lose the exact phone number, lose the exact mail. So we are maintaining the particular field is to be integrable. And a connectionless integrity. It provides for the integrity of a single connectionless data block, and may take the form of a detection of data modification. Additionally, a limited form of replay detection may be provided. So here all the data is to be grouped into one block. So that block is deleted, is that block is modified, is that block is inserted or is that block is deleted. So that what we are going to understand is connectionless integrity. So that block cannot be affected by doing any unauthorized policies or unauthorized actions. So that it says that connectionless integrity. And a selective field connectionless integrity. So it provides for the integrity of selected fields within a single connectionless data block. And it takes the form of determination of whether the selected fields have been modified or not. So all the data having different fields. So is that all the fields are modified or not? Is that all the fields are deleted or not? Is that all the fields are inserted or not? Is there any other fields are inserted or not? So let all be checked here, and that selective field integrity will appear here. So that is all about data integrity. And non-repudiation. This is also one type of mechanism. So non-repudiation, it provides the protection against denial by one of the entitles involved in a communication of having participated in all part of the communication. So it provides a protection against denial of the service. It provides a protection against denial of the service. So any service is going to be denied or it is accepted. It is accepted. So the service is denied or accepted. So that it is going to be happen here. So here origin non-repudiation, that proves that the message was sent by the specified party. That means when there is not at all connection loss, the message is sent from source to destination is going to be received by the specified party. So that having the proof, suppose you can take mails. Whenever you send mail from source to destination, automatically the mail user having the sent mails option. So that is nothing but proof of that origin, the proof of that message was sent by the specified party. So that origin of the non-repudiation. And destination non-repudiation. So proof that message was received by the specified party. So received by the specified party. So he is the sender and he is the receiver. So sender having the proof of the message which was sent by the sender, and the receiver have the proof of message that was received by the specified party, that is by the sender. So this is the non-repudiation process. And different types of security mechanisms. So till now we seen different types of services. To implement that services, we are going to use some security mechanisms. So that security mechanisms refers to the some tools and techniques. To implement that services, we have to use some tools and techniques, right? So that implementing that referring tools and techniques is called as mechanism. So security mechanisms refers to the tools and techniques that can be implemented within a specific protocol layer or out with the layer that provided some form of security. So with the help of some security. So the tools you have to use, some techniques you have to use. The network security consists of different types of tools and techniques and practices, principles, policies. Anyway, those are all the, you can say that mechanisms. All those you can say that mechanisms. That mechanisms are implemented for providing the services on the security. So here that refers to the tools and the techniques that can be implemented within a specific protocol layer or out with the layer what provided some form of security. So here some specific mechanisms are there. So do the encryption of the messages, do the digital signatures on the messages, access control of the particular user data or network data or any data, and applying data integrity. So authentication exchange, traffic padding, and routing control, and notarization. So these are all some specific mechanisms that are applied to implement the security services. And pervasive mechanisms. So some trusted functionality, security label, event detection. That event detections are nothing but any action that are compromised on the channel. So that has to be detected with the help of scanning or by doing scanning or by doing mapping, and security audit trials and security recovery. Security audit trials and security recovery. These are all pervasive mechanisms and these are all specific mechanisms. So in this, all these security mechanisms are implemented for only applying security services. So these are all the topics we discussed in this session. So you can revision the sessions, the topics which we are discussed in this session. We'll see here. The first one, we define that attacks, we define that services, we define that mechanisms. So we are going to use some mechanisms, we are going to use some security mechanisms with the help of that mechanisms implementing services against attacks on the network. So here what is meant by attack and what is meant by mechanism, what is meant by service, we already said that. And these are all some attacks. So interruption that attacks on availability, interception that attacks on confidentiality, and modification that attacks on integrity, and fabrication that attacks on authenticity. So these are the diagrams which is the normal flow of the data from source to destination, and this is the interrupted data with the help of this attacker plays as a third party, and here the attacker is going to be modified, or attacker is going to be monitored, or attacker is going to be interfered in between the transmission. So this is the interruption, interception, modification, fabrication. And there are different types of attacks. So one is passive attacks and active attacks. So passive attacks are not involved to do the actions. They are just simply sitting and monitor the communication channel or data. Communication channel or data. And active attacks are those that involves the modification of the communication channel or communication of the data. So they are going to be participated actively to modify the channel or to modify the data as well. And these are some active attacks: masquerades, replays, message modification, and denial of service. And these are some security services. So to implement that security services, we are using some mechanisms. So security services, so availability is one service, access control is one service, authentication is one service, data confidentiality, so maintaining the data is to be confidential as a privacy and as a safe way. And the data integrity gives the assurance that the data is not modified, that data is to be not deleted or not inserted. So the exact data which you are sending to the receiver. So do not lose any duplication of the data or any originality of the data. And non-repudiation, so it provides against protection against denial of services. It provides protection against denial of services. And these are the mechanisms that are being implemented for services, security services. So these are all the different types of security attacks, security mechanisms, and security services. So finally, you will get the conclusion with the help of all the security services. All the security services are implemented with the help of some security mechanisms against security attacks. So this is all about the session. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.